Undeclared wars are commonplace. Tragically, our country engages in preemptive war, otherwise known as aggression, with no complaints from the American people. Sadly, we have become accustomed to the illegitimate use of force by government. To develop a truly free society, the issue of initiating force must be understood and rejected. What if Jefferson was right, that government governed least governs best? What if it is better to perish fighting for freedom than to live as a slave? What if freedom's hour of danger is now? Is Bobby Bones, and I will always stand up for freedom, liberty, sound economic policies, and most of all, you, the American people. I love you. I hope you enjoy. And God bless America. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode here at Brew Media Productions. I'm your host, Bobby Bones, and I thank you for joining me for a brand new episode. Listen, if you're not subscribed, please go right now, hit the little subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. I'm not asking for a subscription or anything. Yet, you're getting this information for free, and trust me, I paid a fortune to learn this information. I'm giving it to you for free. I don't have any sponsors. You are my only sponsor, and I appreciate you for it. Also, check out my post on YouTube. I'm posting now on YouTube daily, and there you can find other topics that I go over that I don't always cover in the videos. So please like and comment and always give your suggestions, your opinions. I'll get back to you, and I appreciate you and love you as always. So anyway, I want to get into what's going on in the dollar and in the precious metals market. Right now, I want to play a clip from Fox Business News. Let me put up this clip, and I'm going to talk about it on the other side. Let's put up the video.
Gold shimmering up to its highest close today in history at $5,079.90 per troy ounce, just a day after blasting through $5,100 an ounce. Investors have been piling into the safe haven trade for a year now. The run-up in precious metals has gotten added rocket fuel since President Trump announced his widespread tariffs back in April. This week alone, he's threatened new levies on Canadian and South Korean imports. A possible government shutdown is looming. The Senate has until midnight this Friday to pass the $1.3 trillion spending package to fund the government. Senate Democrats are now saying they will not vote to fund the Department of Homeland Security without restrictions for immigration enforcement, which could torpedo the entire bill. And don't forget, the Federal Reserve meeting gets underway today. In this hour, tomorrow, we will hear from Jerome Powell after the interest rate decision.
So anyway, I want to go over a few things about what Liz said in that thing. So, gold is going through the roof. Now, I've watched a bunch of her episodes on Fox Business, and she really does not know why gold is going up. She forgot to mention why the dollar is going down, right? Now, mind you, she's on Fox Business, so she cheerleads for the president. But then you turn on CNBC, and they don't know either. Matter of fact, silver hit an all-time high, blasting through $100 an ounce, and they were acting as if this was just no big deal. When if you follow currencies and the precious metals market, the fact that gold blew past $5,000 an ounce, silver blasted past $100 an ounce, these are major moves in the market. And how did the dollar react? The dollar is getting hammered, right? It is at a 4-year low against other currencies. This is exactly what I said was going to happen. And there's record of it. People can go back and take a look at the videos where I was saying that this is what's going to happen. And while Republicans and Democrats in Congress are playing politics, right, with the budget, here's the truth. And I've said this. One day, the Congress is going to raise the debt ceiling, right, and pass all of this spending, and there's going to be no buyers of treasuries. And a matter of fact, I'm going to get into that in a little bit, to show you how the Treasury market has been reacting, how have foreign investors and central banks have been reacting to all the mess going on in Washington, D.C. Well, this budget that they're trying to pass is $1.3 trillion. I mean, think about what I'm saying about this amount of money, right? And the fact of the matter is that from George Washington all the way to Ronald Reagan, right, we didn't even have a $1 trillion deficit. Matter of fact, Ronald Reagan was the first president that presided over a $1 trillion deficit. Now, we are having to do budgets that are 4 months and 6 months long, and they're over $1 trillion in spending. This is 1.3. You're already a third of the way to a $2 trillion budget. And this doesn't cover, this isn't like, hey, we're going to do $1.3 trillion and it's going to last, 3 years. They're going to be back at the trough probably in less than a year, right? And what the eggheads on TV don't understand, the economists, the administration, the Federal Reserve, is that government is the number one reason why gold is at all new highs along with silver, right? Simultaneously, it is the government with the Fed why the dollar is getting hammered, right, against all other currencies. I mean, think about what I'm saying. The dollar is down to a 4-year low. Let's put up the chart on the dollar. The dollar is just getting absolutely decimated, landing at 96.16, right? I mean, this thing is just getting hammered, right? And Trump is out there talking about how strong the economy is, right? Oh, the economy's on fire. This is the hottest economy ever, right? And this is while the dollar is in free fall, right? Gold and silver are hitting all new highs. Now, consumer confidence came out. They're nearly at a 12-year low, right? Consumer confidence is almost at a 12-year low. Why do you think that is, Mr. President? Why do you think consumers are at nearly a 12-year low? Because they see the prices and they can't afford this economy. Let me put up a clip by Reuters. I'm going to go over this clip. I'm going to read it, and you tell me what you think. So anyway, U.S. consumer confidence slumped to the lowest level in more than 11 and a half years in January amid mounting anxiety over a sluggish labor market and high prices, which could see households becoming more cautious about spending. Now, I said that was going to happen. It just takes a while for the public to catch up, right? But eventually, when I put a prediction out there, the public catches up, but by then it's too late, right? So anyway, the surprise deterioration in confidence reported by the Conference Board on Tuesday was across political party affiliations, with survey respondents identifying as independents the most pessimistic. It could add to pressure on President Donald Trump to address what economists and opponents have called an affordability crisis. And that's why I have been saying that Trump is making the same mistake as Biden. The economy is going to eat Trump's whole presidency up the more he goes out there and tells everybody how it's a hoax, right? Affordability is a hoax and all this nonsense. The more he goes out and does that as prices continue to outpace people's wages in real terms, the more hammered Trump is going to get. And that's why independents in particular, and that's why I this report was really eye-catching to me, because people are identifying now as independents more than ever. But let me go back to this and see what it says. So anyway, it could add to pressure on Donald Trump to address what economists and opponents have called an affordability crisis, which they have blamed on his policies, including sweeping tariffs on imports. Now, the tariffs are just one reason, part why prices are going up. And, I've gone into tariffs before. You can check out my previous videos where I go into length about who pays the tariff. And unfortunately, and look, if you're a taxpayer, the government has spent tens of millions of dollars doing research, okay, to see who pays the tariff. Well, you could have got it for free through me, right? It was obvious. And of course, the government report comes back and says that we pay like 98% of the tariff, right? So again, government at its best. Government creates the problem, and then government tries to find a solution to that problem, only to create more problems. But I digress. So my forecast is that inflation this year is going to be more pernicious as time goes forward. Why? Because the government and Fed are going to go out there and continue to spend money that we don't have, borrowing money that we don't have, right? But what's going to happen is, as they accelerate spending, foreign and central banks are going to say, no mas, we're not going to buy your treasuries, which is only going to speed up the Fed's QE program, which they just started, right, a couple of months ago. This is where inflation is really going to take off, because what you have to understand is that as foreign treasuries sell their bonds and treasuries, what happens is those dollars no longer stays overseas, right? They're going to be flooding in to back home. All those chickens are going to come home to roost. So not only are we going to have to deal with all those dollars rolling back to the United States, we're also going to have to deal with the Fed having to print money to make up for all the programs that neither side wants to get rid of, right? And all the government that everybody wants. See, everybody thinks, a politician always wants to cut taxes, right? It's very popular to go out there and say, hey, you're not going to pay any tax on this or any tax on that. We're going to lower your income and corporate tax. And that's all great. But that only works if you cut government, right? Because if you don't cut government, but you cut taxes, what happens is you end up creating inflation, because you have to print that money from somewhere. You have to borrow it or print it from somewhere else. Now, there's something called the Laffer curve, where they say, well, the more taxes you cut, the more growth you get. But that's not true, right? Because what happens is, especially if government gets so big, right, you're not going to have enough growth to keep up with the size of government. That's where we are now. When Art Laffer, who's an economist who worked under Reagan, created the Laffer curve, even he never imagined that our government would be this big, that one budget, and I believe it's a 6-month budget, is $1.3 trillion. I mean, Republicans were so upset when Joe Biden was making his budgets, which were less than $1 trillion. We're at $1.3 trillion. There's no COVID, right? We're not in World War III, right? Why is the budget this big? Why? Well, first, we have to service the debt that we've already made, right? Because we're paying interest on the debt. That's part of it. Then we have to expand the military-industrial complex because they don't get enough. Then we have to expand all of the safety nets, right? Because, again, we don't even pay enough taxes to keep all this Social Security, Medicaid, Obamacare, Medicare, right? We don't pay enough taxes for that. So where's the money going to come from? Going to have to borrow it? Going to have to print it. That's why gold and silver is going ballistic, right? Because foreigners see the writing on the wall, and it's really Trump's fault why we are heading towards a dollar crisis and a sovereign debt crisis. Now, wait, let me back that up. It's not entirely Trump's fault because, again, for the past 50 years, both parties have abused the status of the dollar, right? But Trump really kicked it into high gear, and let me tell you how. A few things. For one thing, he's out there agitating everybody around the world, right, with his tariffs. So that's the first thing he does. Then he's going out there, invading other countries. He's bombed 8 countries since being president. But the two big things that he's done besides tariffs is taking Maduro out of Venezuela. That was a big move, right? And trust me, that has consequences. But the really big one that he did, which he tacoed on, was threatening NATO, threatening the European Union in taking Greenland. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And a matter of fact, the Danes who own Greenland just announced that they are doing exactly what I said would happen. They are dumping all of their treasuries. They're selling all of them. They say the dollar is too risky and America is too risky. And I said that that was going to happen. Who else is selling treasuries? China. China let go since Trump has been elected. They have reduced their treasuries by $100 billion, right? This is what's putting pressure on the dollar. And the only way we're going to get people out there to come back into the market to buy treasuries is if interest rates go way up, right? Because you got to make it so that, you know, hey, we want to make sure that we get a return, right? You can't give a low interest rate on a bond if the Fed is creating this much inflation, right? So you got to make it really feasible for foreign central banks to say, hey, I'm going to take a risk buying a U.S. Treasury, right? Because it's obvious not only to Americans, but it's obvious to foreigners that the more they loan the United States money, the worse it gets for them, that they're never going to see their money and that we're going to use our military against them. I mean, think about this setup. We print up a bunch of money, right? They loan us money. All these countries loan us money, right? Europe loans us money. Asia loans us money, right? Then we print up bonds out of thin air. We print money out of thin air, right? We use their money that they loan to us to buy their stuff. And we build up our military in the process. Now, what people don't understand about the dollar's reserve currency is that there's a fee for using the dollar, right? It's like a 3% fee or whatever that is, right? It's like around 3% of every dollar exchanged, we get a piece of that, right? And because it's the reserve currency and so many dollars are floating around the planet being traded all the time, it helps to pay for all the government that we have, right? But as the world goes through this de-dollarization phase, those dollars that are circulating around the world end up coming back home. And that's where the real cost is going to start to really... Americans think inflation is high now, their prices are high now. You ain't seen nothing yet when we have a dollar crisis and a sovereign debt crisis. And you could tell that the Federal Reserve and federal government don't understand what's going on because they are not doing the right thing. The Fed is not doing the right thing, and the federal government is not doing the right thing. Both parties, right? Right now they're fighting over whether or not to give, Homeland Security, ICE more money, all this nonsense, when they should be getting serious about the federal deficits that are literally choking this country to death. It is choking the taxpayer. It is choking consumers to death. And here's the thing about the precious metals market, right? This has just started. People think there are some people out there, the people who really don't understand the precious metals market, this thing is just taking off because as the central banks forego dollars, right, they are picking up gold, right? And the reason why they're picking up gold is because when they put gold in their vault, nobody can steal it, right? See, when you're on the dollar reserve currency, and this is the problem with both parties abusing the dollar by sanctioning countries and going after them and trying to use the military all the time, is that if you use the U.S. dollar, we can debank you and say, you know what, we don't like you. Look what we did to Venezuela and Cuba and North Korea and all these other, Iran, right? We debank them. We say, look, you can't trade. You can't do this. You can't do that. And if you get out of line, we'll even bomb you, right? Well, now Trump has threatened our allies. So they're like, you know what? I want off of this. This isn't working out. And so what's happening is foreign central banks are going to speed up buying gold. That's what's happening. That's why BRICS is so popular. The BRIC nations. Let me put up a video real quick. Check out that video. Here's the BRIC nations that are leading the way. China's leading the way on gold. And this is where we're going to be pulled into this because the dollar's days are done. And the thing about gold and silver, and especially the mining stocks, is that also has a long way to go. Why? Because right now it's mostly retail investors, right, that are buying this stuff. Their big institutional investors are still not in this trade. So this has a long way to go. So look, if you haven't jumped into that market yet, you really should. And what the eggheads and people on TV and on the internet don't understand who talk about economics is that right now the precious metals market are giving the biggest warning signs I've ever seen in my life, bigger than the subprime failure that happened in 2007, that the economy and the dollar are in major trouble and that we are headed for a dollar crisis and a sovereign debt crisis. And again, for all the talk of Trump saying we have the hottest economy in the world, right now, the U.S. dollar is weaker than all other major currencies right now, right? That is not a strong economy. And remember, I was the first person that said, this is what's going to happen. And I said this on Trump's Liberation Day. I said this is going to be bad for the dollar and it's just going to get hammered against other currencies. And that's going to cause consumer prices to go up. And that's exactly what we've been seeing. And this is and you have to think that's why consumers are losing confidence in the U.S. economy, because they see the weakness of the dollar. They see what's going on in the precious metals market. They're waking up. They see what's going on. And they know they're in for a rough ride. Now, there's another part here that I want to talk about, why the dollar is getting hammered and why foreign central banks and foreign investors are going to walk away from the Dow. They're going to walk away from our economy because, you know, you have to understand something, that, you know, the world lost confidence after Trump passed the big, beautiful bill. Well, let me explain why. And I also said this on my video, earlier, because when he passed it, because when he was elected and he was out there prostituting Doge and explaining, oh, you know, Elon Musk is going to come and he's going to, you know, find all this fraud and all these people are going to get arrested and we're going to cut a lot of government, right? Well, what happened since Trump was elected? Well, for every dollar the government cut of, you know, AID was like the big one that they cut, which apparently was like the worst thing to cut. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. That's not my opinion. That's what some people say out there. I don't agree with that. They've added another $1.50, right? When you look at the military-industrial complex, right? He went from $800 billion to $1 trillion. Now he wants $1.5 trillion just for one department, right? And don't forget, the Pentagon, which is basically the Department of War, they have failed to do, audits over the past 7-8 years, right? They have failed to do audits. And I think if you fail to do an audit, right, for every time you fail, you should get a cut, not rewarded, right? We need to see where the money is going. So Trump is blowing away what Biden was spending. And this is part of the problem, because when Trump came in, he said, look, this is a new day. You know, we're going to get our fiscal house in order. That's not at all what Trump did. As a matter of fact, Trump sent Doge packing. Doge is gone, right? Now we are spending more than ever. And mind you, this is with Republicans holding all three branches. The Republican Party does not have the stomach or the balls to go to the American people and tell them the truth. We're broke. We can't afford this lifestyle anymore, right? We need to cut back, right? We need to not just cut the fat, we need to get rid of the bone, right? Republicans, they campaigned last year on getting the fiscal house in order, right? Getting a handle on spending, not getting involved in all these foreign interventions, right? And again, what are the Republican, remember, what have the Republicans been doing? Now you have federal agents walking the streets, violating people's rights. Look, I posted something about this on my YouTube, on X, on Facebook, right? You can go on there and check out my post on that subject. But again, I don't like an all-powerful government, right? And I want to tell something to my fellow Americans and people who are out there listening. They are civil servants, okay? They work for us, okay? We don't work for them, okay? You don't have to give papers on demand, right? I can have a gun lawfully, walk past a dozen cops. I don't have to tell them I have a gun, right? But if a cop is going to, or an officer or a federal agent is going to approach you, they are supposed to announce who they are, announce why they're detaining you, announce why they're approaching you, right? They can't just swarm you, beat you up, and shoot you, right? That is not what we do in America. So anyway, I don't want to get into that too much, but people need to know their rights, okay? Now, look, we got to get a handle on immigration, but here's another thing I want to point out to MAGA. Trump has proven that you don't need a wall to stop the flow of immigration in the southern border. Trump has proven that. We don't have a wall, yet they were able to stop the flow of illegals, right? So the whole wall business was a complete waste of time and a waste of money. The whole argument over the wall was a complete waste of time. So it goes to show that Trump's wall, first off, it's bullshit because Mexico didn't pay for it. That's first. But second, that you don't need a wall to stop illegal immigration. We're doing it right now, and most of the southern border is wide open. Why? Because we have the right infrastructure down there stopping people from flowing in. But I digress. So mind you, while all this is going on, the debt is piling up and getting out of control. Let's put up the debt clock again. Let me put that up. And mind you, while all of this is going on, China is exporting more, right? Their exports are up 5.5% this year, right? Remember what Trump was saying? They need us. No, they don't. There's a whole world of people that would love to buy Chinese goods, right? And this is why the Fed restarted QE a couple of months ago. And now QE is going to rev up as the world divests from treasuries and the dollar. Because the Fed will be forced to monetize more debt as the world looks to safer assets like gold. And let me just educate people a little bit on the Dow and the S&P. So you keep hearing about, oh, look, the Dow hit a new high. Oh, look, the Dow hit a new high. The Dow Jones is down over 75% over the past 25 years priced in gold. Think about what I'm saying. So basically, the Dow is pure inflation. See, when you price things, you have to price it in real money. And I've been telling my listeners and followers that for many years. You have to price it in real money, which is gold. And so is the S&P. Oh, the S&P hit all new highs. Price it in gold. It's way down, right? Meaning, back in 2000, right, you can buy the Dow, right? You needed more gold. Now you need much less gold than you needed 25 years ago. That's my point, that the Dow is actually losing value. So you think, oh, look, I'm in the Dow, I'm making all this money, or the S&P. But in reality, you're losing money when priced in gold because everything is priced in dollars. So you have to figure, as the dollar loses purchasing power, it's an illusion, right? Imagine if you had bought gold back in 2000 and you'd have 75% more purchasing power, right? Versus buying the Dow. That's my point. All right, so let's look at the charts. Let's look at the gold chart, right? How has gold reacted in a week? Let's put up that chart. Gold is at $5,320, right? Up 10% on the week, right? This is an incredible bull run in gold. How has silver reacted? Let's put up the chart on silver. Silver is at $113.36, right? Now, and is up over 21% over the past week. I mean, think about what I'm saying. When I first bought silver, silver was under $5 an ounce. All right. Now it's at $113. And I have been telling, back when I had my clients and people like this, investors, to buy gold and silver now for the better part of over 25 years. I just want people to know that if you have not jumped on this train yet, this train is just getting started. So anyway, let's put up the next chart, the GDXJ. VanEck Junior Miners up 10% on the week, landing at 148.27, right? Again, this is a stock that I was talking about. Let's look at this next one, GDX, that is up over 9% on the week, hitting at $110.49, right? Let's look at another one. Let's go into Barrick Gold. This is one where the eggheads and people on TV last year were saying, don't buy it. This thing has been a rocket ship all year. Let's put up the chart. See how it's done in the past week. It's up almost 7% on the week, landing at 52.50. 52.50, right? This has been an incredible bull run for Barrick Gold, right? Let's now switch gears and go into the silver mining stocks. So the silver mining stocks, SIL, let's put up the chart, is up over 11% on the week and landing at 113.28, right? Let's look at another silver mining stock, SILJ, right? Let's put up the chart. That is up over 10% on the week, landing at 38.85, right? One more mining stock. Let's look at PAS, Pan American Silver. This is one I have been just pushing over the past year. This one has completely overperformed. Let's put up the chart. Landing at over 11%, landing at $64.64, right? Now, again, these stocks have been the best. The ones that I just mentioned have been the best performers on the entire stock market, beating out the Magnificent Seven, right? Beating out NVIDIA, beating out Tesla. And this is without institutional investors jumping in. This is just basic retail investors who can see what's going on in the economy. They see what's going on with the dollar, and they are putting their money into these mining stocks. And I highly recommend or suggest that people do the same thing. So anyway, I wanted to go over a few of the fundamentals and why the dollar is getting hammered, why gold is going ballistic, right? Because you're not getting the full story on these other networks. And I wanted to be the conduit between you doing that. Also, again, please like and subscribe. Also, check out my post on YouTube. I appreciate you. I love you. And always remember, Patriots, I'm always going to, I promise to always stand up for liberty, freedom, and of course, economic sound policies. I love you. Stay strong. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Oh, wait. I also wanted to say that I appreciate all the support of people who have reached out to me with the weather that we got. The weather came through. We had some ice. We had some snow, but the power didn't go out. I believe that the power stayed on because we got all brand new telephone poles and all new electric lines. So I think that really helped us. But anyway, I appreciate you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.